They've taken several fingerprints, but the problem is so many people go in and out of the restaurant, it's going to be hard for them to run everything and narrow everything down. When it comes to figuring out who was on the other side of that bullet that struck Larche, cops admit they're having a tough time. I dug up these court papers, and they say that the sailors used a website to target women and rob them.
We came to ask you about the paychecks that are bouncing to your employees.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
Well, we saw the bounced checks, and you signed them, so you should know something about that. Said you didn't know about the bad checks, but you've just been arrested for that. Do you have anything to say about those malpractice lawsuits? You don't have anything to say about the disfigurement or leaving instruments in patients' mouths?
I've spent the last few days digging through nearly 300 of VDOT's internal emails, and they reveal money may have been part of the decision to do maintenance on 2 bridges at the same time.
Con artists are going on Facebook pages to research family members. I am sitting with them right now. I'm sitting with the family right now, and you'll see it on the news, so why won't you give them their money back?
Turns out she didn't just pocket the money. NewsChannel 3 has learned that she used it to feed her gambling habit and, get this, pay her own mortgage. A lot of people who live in this area told me that they've always been concerned about the jets flying so low and that this was their biggest fear coming to fruition.
You can see this. The wind would carry it away if I wasn't holding it right now. This is a little bit of what we're finding forming on the streets and roadways.
This is like a nightmare.
These x-rays can't begin to show the terrible pain Lamar Price has been putting up with for more than a year.
I've been on more pain medication and antibiotics during this time than I have in my entire life.
Price says embattled dentist Derek Broadway's mistakes are to blame for his pain.
Man, I really made a mistake by choosing him to be my dentist.
Price says he went to see Broadway in summer 2011 for a filling, but something happened during the procedure.
It was like, oops, uh-oh. And I was like, huh? Oops. And he was like, well, after I inquired, like, what's going on? He was like, well, I drilled the drill too far down and I fractured your tooth, so I'm gonna have to do a root canal now.
Price says these x-rays show Broadway left something behind during the root canal procedure.
He left part of my tooth in there that he was supposed to take out. He also left in some of the root canal material that shouldn't have been there, and that was the source of why I continue to have these infections. It's just aggravating, it hurts, it really affects sleep, just every aspect of your life.
Price thought he was alone until he saw NewsChannel 3's series of investigations on Dr. Broadway on WTKR.com. We initially tracked Broadway down after employees claimed he wrote bad checks. Days later, he was arrested.
Mr. Broadway, what do you have to say about these charges against you?
NewsChannel 3 also exposed 3 medical malpractice lawsuits against Broadway. Former patients claimed his work left them disfigured and permanently injured.
You don't have anything to say about the disfigurement or leaving instruments in patients' mouths?
NewsChannel 3's digging also showed Broadway's 15-year history of violations with the Board of Dentistry. He's currently on a stayed suspension, meaning he can practice as long as he doesn't violate the board's rules. That ruling came after shoddy root canal work done on Rosemary Rogers.
If I had known, I would have never stepped foot in that dentist's office. Never.
I started reading their complaints, and I felt like I was reading my own experience.
Price has already filed a formal complaint with the Board of Dentistry. He's hired an attorney to sue Broadway too. He just wishes he'd known about the doctor's past before stepping foot in his office.
There should be some type of sign that the Department of Health should put up and say, you know what, you may want to think twice before you select this dentist. Baby, and it's like, you know,
think I had a car seat, but I do remember a picture of my mom like driving him. And I don't know how much.
I'm not a.
Would have to go to each individual site. So these are all the hairs and fibers that they recovered off the diaper bag.
And my wife is driving around, sitting on the lap.
Why we were coming?
Eyebrows. Can't see that.
Only got very few pictures. I remember meeting.
If you were able to look him in the eye and know that's your brother, what would you say to him? Wow, what a reunion that would be. Now, we also want to let you know David had some very distinguishing birthmarks, one on his back and the other one on his buttocks. He also had a mole on his right ear. Now, if you have any information about what happened to David, take action. Call Newport News Police at 928-4200 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. Live in the control room, Jessica Larche, News Channel 3. Bobby Moore molested a 7-year-old girl in Norfolk, then paid her $1 not to tell. But if he were staring you in the face, you would never know it. Moore's one of 17 wanted sex offenders across the state with no image on the sex offender registry website. No way to know if the man who forced a little girl to have sex years ago is your next-door neighbor.
But he has no picture here.
Or if one of these faceless offenders is the man who raped Barbara Shine more than 20 years ago.
Sexual predators don't stop with one.
You see, Shine's rapist never paid for what he did to her. So she searches sex offender registries, wondering if he did time for raping someone else.
Sexual predators will go on and repeat their crimes until they are caught.
But Shine's search always comes to a stop.
Some of them have no pictures at all. It's very frustrating because I have no other clues to go on other than what he looked like then and what I can imagine he might look like at this point.
News Channel 3 took action to find out why some of the most violent offenders in the state were faceless on the state's sex offender registry. Are their mugshots destroyed or impossible to find? Nope. We found 3 of 6 faceless offenders connected to Hampton Roads. Here's the picture we found for Bobby Moore. He was convicted in 1992 for sexual battery. Police told me they have no mugshot of Moore from his 1992 conviction on record. So I dug through 22-year-old court records on microfilm to track down Moore's details. I matched Moore's social security number, date of birth, and physical description to this picture. It's a mugshot of Moore taken after his March 2000 arrest for stealing. He's wanted because he never registered as a sex offender. Stick around, I've got much more on this guy you'll want to hear. Next up, Todd Franken. He had sex with a minor 16 years ago in Virginia Beach. After we asked Beach Police for a copy of his mugshot for the crime, it took them several days to dig it up from archives. Franken's wanted because he hasn't let authorities know where he lives. And we got results on Mark Christopher Lyons, too. He was convicted in Connecticut for sexual assault in '92. He moved to Melfa last year, but hasn't told Connecticut authorities that. We found his mugshot pretty quickly on that state's sex offender registry. After we took action to put faces to these offenders' names and crimes, we took our findings to state police, even offered to hand over the photos we dug up. They turned us down.
We don't want to get caught putting stuff on the website that we can't prove pertains to that specific person.
State Police Sergeant Charles Plaza oversees the sex offender search in Hampton Roads. He says they can only post pictures of sex offenders if it's attached to the sex offender's registration papers.
If there's no photograph, it just means we don't have one that's current or current enough for our standards as defined by code.
Well, most of the wanted offenders we searched for never registered or had mugshots dating back decades.
We cannot stick a photograph of someone, even though we know it's them, we just cannot put it on the website.
So even if it would help people recognize these people?
For the couple that are out there like that, I don't think it's going to make that much difference.
Right away.
It sure makes a difference to Shine.
It sounds like too much bureaucracy. It sounds like too many barricades in the way.
But our investigation revealed an even bigger problem in the search for sex offenders. Remember Bobby Moore? Well, state police say he's wanted because he never registered as a sex offender. But our research shows that Moore has been in and out of Norfolk's jail several times over the last several years since he did time for the sex crime. But he was never listed as a wanted sex offender until 2008, years after he was out of local police custody. How does something like that happen? I mean,
it's going to happen. I mean, nothing that we do in law enforcement is foolproof. Someone's bound to slip through the crack in any type of case.
Moore's case is a complicated one. You see, he was convicted in '92, 4 years before federal laws required sex offenders to register. Not only was he in and out of Norfolk's jail, our research revealed he did time in a Georgia prison 2 years ago. But no agency made Moore register as a sex offender. It seems there was never any communication between those organizations and the state police about him.
That is possible.
Plaza admits there were missed opportunities when it comes to Moore, but he didn't outline any changes that could prevent it from happening again.
Our job is to try to fill that crack up. So until then, we just have to keep going as we are.
Business as usual for state police isn't good enough for survivors like Shine. Still, the search for her offender continues. She just hopes he's not one of the faceless ones.
But I never give up hope, and that's why I keep looking at those registries.
Now, state police say in some cases they have access to mugshots to help them track offenders down. They just haven't posted them to the website. Well, if you have information on any of the missing offenders we profiled tonight, take action. Go to WTKR.com and click on the link to this story. In the control room, Jessica Larche, News Channel 3.